What is up, YouTube? Northeast Ohio Sports Cards. Little market update video. Got some stuff going on. I wanted to get this out because an interesting test case for the market is about to happen. For your reference, I am recording this Thursday afternoon, a little after 4 p.m. Eastern, right as the main NBA slate is about to kick off to determine who goes into the play-in game. We are going to talk about Zion's prices here in a minute and what they've done. As I mentioned a couple videos ago, the sell-off is real, and the sell-off is still real. Mostly because of the way he played, the Pelicans played, the way he looked. There was a lot of contributing factors. He didn't play the last two games. He's out of the bubble now. No one's going to see him until winter, basically. Some undetermined amount of time. There are rumors circulating that the NBA may indeed might not start back December 1st, like was originally rumored. I heard today on a few different of the main like ESPN Full 48s, those types of podcasts, like that the earliest may be Christmas, and it may even not even start till actually 2021, like January. But that is still all up in the air. Nothing's determined there. So no one's going to see Zion for 5 months, maybe 4 months. We don't really know. So what's going to happen this weekend is 3 of the hottest players in the league, only one of them is going to go on. And I am strictly speaking of Dame, Booker, and Ja Morant. 2 of the 3, we're going to get into it here in a minute, completely with graphs and pictures and cool little shenanigans. 2 out of the 3 are going home this weekend. I think this weekend. I forget when the actual 2 seeding games are. But long story short, 2 of those guys are going home. I'm going to be very curious to see what happens to their prices for the 2 guys that leave the bubble and are no longer playing. Now, the difference is all 3 of these players have been playing extremely well and have looked good, whereas Zion did not. So I'm curious to see how big of a hit they take compared to the hit that Zion took. So we'll get into that more in a second. Off the bat, I wanted to talk about some baseball. And before I forget, YouTube nonsense down below. Like, comment, sub, all that nonsense. We're almost at 500 subscribers. Click the stupid subscribe button. YouTube shenanigans. Done. Into the stuff you guys actually care about. So, last night, Juan Soto smacks a home run. Gets put on my radar. I look. His stuff seems pretty cheap compared to where it should be. I check the SCI Discord. Someone's selling one for $175, and when I say one, I am talking about his paper PSA 10 Topps update. So I snag it. I say, okay, I'll get in on one. I don't have any. I take that back. I have one Soto. I have his Topps Heritage PSA 10 that I picked up a while ago. All right, I'll grab it. Cool. Fast forward about 30 minutes. Boom. Second home run, followed up by a Gary V tweet. At this point in time, his stuff had already started moving and moving quickly. I was watching his stuff fly off of my slabs. Which, by the way, if you guys aren't buying off my slabs, you need to check out my slabs. It is legit. Stuff's flying off my slabs. I have a couple of windows open of more of these for around 200. They sell, they sell, they sell. I get I get a second one at 215. And then by the end of the night, they're at 250 to 260. I woke up this morning, one sold for 275. And none have sold since. Since then, In today's afternoon game, he has hit another home run, and Gary Vee tweeted about him again. So, we'll see what happens here. Soto's a really good player. Don't get me wrong. I don't dabble in the baseball game much. But if you have any of them laying around, or you can run into one at this point for a reasonable price, go for it. But odds are they're all going to be gone. His three main cards are the Topps Update Paper, the Topps Update Chrome, which I had a discussion last night in another YouTube live stream from B&B about this, because I am not a big baseball guy, so I am looking at this from the basketball side of things. The base paper and the base chrome are the top two lines on this graph. You can see they basically stay in lockstep with each other. The pop count on the chrome is a lot lower, and I understand the whole Topps tradition and all that nonsense, but if the basketball market turns the eye of Sauron to baseball and the basketball people flood over there, they're going to be looking at chrome cards. So I don't know if this is going to be a thing or not. We were talking about this on the SCI Discord as well. Is there an opportunity for some of these other chrome cards that are priced much lower than their paper counterparts for them to catch a rise if the basketball market moves into the baseball market with their preference for chrome cards? Could that be a driving market indicator for that? Because I know when I looked to go buy them, the first thing I looked at was this Topps Chrome. I'm like, it's Chrome, it must be better. Pop count's lower. And then I got a little educated and found out that, well, no, not exactly. People want the paper. It's a little bit of a tougher grade, but there's a lot more of them. You know, whatever. But long story short is Soto cards are nuts right now. This is the last 7 days. So you can see last night it ended with an net average of 250. That's the Chrome. The paper is just ahead of it at 255. And the Heritage is up to 76. I know a lot of people don't like Heritage that are in the quote-unquote baseball community. I like Heritage quite a lot. It just reminds me of the packs that I ripped when I was a kid. So I've always liked the looks of the Heritage cards. So, but you can see these are all flying up the board. And if you notice, over the last 7 days, the Chrome is up almost 60%, whereas the base paper is only up 45%. So I think that could be something to look out for you baseball people. Once again, I do not know baseball extremely well, so I could be talking out of my backside. Let's hop over to basketball, the bread and butter. So we talked about the Bubble Boys. We got Lillard. We got Booker. You can see this is the chart for their last 30 days. Show about 2 weeks ago the bubble started. And you can see they've almost been in lockstep with each other in regards to just paralleling their charts going up, because they have both played out of their living minds. If we look at let's look at 14 days for price changes, because that lines up better with the bubble timeline. Dame PSA 10 Prism is up 130%. It's almost a $1,200 card now. And Booker PSA 10 is up 185%. Lillard's a $2,000 card now. The change is almost $1,200. That's a 2K card, and Booker is just under 1,400. The Dame pop count is super low at 529 because that's a much older set. Even the Booker one's pretty low at 1,000, and these aren't 100% up to date. As the market movers tools that I'm using here do not pull pop count data in real time. It's a manually updated field, and I don't think it's been updated for a while. But regardless, this is not Luka at a 10,000 pop count. Same with this Lillard. So, like I said at the beginning of this video, I'm going to be very curious to see where these 2+ jaw go when 2 of these 3 get bounced. Do they just level out and whoever moves on keeps climbing up, assuming they play well and don't get hurt? Or do they straight nosedive? I don't think that's going to be the case. My best guess is they semi-level out, maybe dip a little, but I don't know. In normal circumstances, if this was a normal card market year, typically guys peak as they move throughout the playoffs, which essentially, you know, this bubble is basically like a play-in game for certain teams, so it's almost like the playoffs. It's getting eyes like it's the playoffs. They get bounced from the playoffs. Their cards dip slightly during the offseason and then begin to climb back up as the next season approaches. That is the typical market curve under normal circumstances. That's usually how this stuff works. Right now, who the heck knows? Because, like as I've been saying for weeks, we were kind of in uncharted territory with this stuff. But my prediction is that still holds relatively true. As these guys leave the bubble and are not on TV anymore, they're not dropping 50-point games, and people are going to, I don't want to say forget about them, but push them to the side for the people that are still playing, is what typically happens. The market begins to narrow down on the guys left, and their prices really climb. The playoff bump is huge, and it is real if you can, I don't want to say guess correctly, but if you are backing the players and the teams that go the deepest, you could see some massive returns just off playoff bump, assuming they play well, always. But yeah, anyways, Damon Book, prices are crazy because they've been playing out of their mind, but let's keep an eye and see where this goes once they leave. Like I said, I will be curious to see where these go. Let's hop over and talk about Ja and Zion. Prepare yourselves, Zion lovers. This is base PSA 10 Prisms for most. I just went with that because it is essentially the gold standard for anyone's respected card. This is a 14-day chart, so this is going back essentially to when Zion peaked. Zion's prices peaked right at the end of July, just around $900 for a PSA 10. Over the last 14 days, Zion has done nothing to help himself, along with the Pelicans. He is down 30%. Ja has basically stayed the same, gone up slightly. He took a little bit of a dip, went back up, took a little dip again, and is going back up again. I think his hopes are that they could get into the bubble. I said, I want to say about a week ago in a video, I think Ja's prices jump Zion's. And we're basically there. Right now, I would say it wouldn't be surprising if they were around the same price. This chart's from yesterday, just based off of the postings that I'm seeing in buy-sell trade rooms for what people are trying to get for Zion cards. The sell-off is real. It is a race to the bottom, essentially, to see where this market wants to level out at. Now, if you just bought Zion within the last 30 days, I would not sell unless you needed the money. This would be the absolute worst time to sell a Zion card that you just bought because you're immediately going to take a couple $100 loss on it. You're essentially stuck holding for the next 4 to 5 months and hope that the market rebounds on him. Odds are the market's going to rebound on him. I don't know that it'll get back to that almost $900 area before he actually plays again. But this is going to level out somewhere. And then people are going to, investors and whatnot, money is going to start to flow to Zion as people see it being too underpriced. And then my guess is it'll slowly start creeping back up over the off season as we approach the start of next season. And then once it gets around to late fall, early winter, training camps open up. Someone posts a tweet of Zion looking like Bane again. And then his prices will start spiking. And then it'll be a matter of what he does on the court. Does he play well when the season starts up? Or does he look like he did in the bubble? I think the bubble was just not a good situation for him. He was not in shape. He left the bubble for those couple days. I just think his whole bubble experience was just as absolute worst case scenario as it could get for him. If you are a believer in Zion, your time is coming to fire. I don't know where it's going to bottom out at, but if you have something like Market Movers or Card Ladder or whatever you do, or you just like to refresh 130 point 100 times a day, keep an eye on the prices. When you see them start to level out, that would be your time to buy if you are a Zion believer. I am personally skeptical. I have said many times on here, I don't want a large share if I had a pie graph of my collection and what I am quote unquote into or invested in, I would want a sliver of Zion. I would want a small sliver of Zion, but I wouldn't want a large piece of Zion. I would want just a little sliver, just to say that I have some, just in case he is the second coming. But I would not want that pie chart to be a massive hunk of Zion Williamson. I would definitely like other players making up a large majority of my stuff. I think I've talked about it on here before. For example, I had those Mosaic PSA 10 pink camos and that silver PSA 9. I sold 110 and 9. I am sitting on a 10. I actually debated selling it. I got 500 for the last one. It went up to about 600, and the last one I think sold at 550. I've considered selling it. The only thing is there's really nothing I'm looking to buy at the moment unless something just pops up, and I have enough on PayPal right now to kind of play with. So we'll see. I have an SGC order that is supposedly post-graded now, and I have some Zion stuff in there, so I will take the temperature when that stuff actually gets back in my hands on what the market is and decide what I want to do with it. Ja, on the other hand, I think his prices when he gets bounced stay more stable. I don't think they take as hard a dip as Zion does. I think they will take a dip, but I don't think it's going to be 30% in 2 weeks once Ja's season is officially over, assuming he does not make the playoffs. I think it's going to be either the Suns or the Trailblazers, most likely. The Grizz just looked overmatched and got unlucky with the JJJ injury, but we'll see what happens there. But I'm going to keep, like I said on the previous one, we're going to keep an eye on those three guys and see where their prices go now that they are, 2 of the 3 are leaving the bubble. Next up, let's talk Luka. And then I got one last thing I want to talk about, and I'll get you guys out of here. All right, Luka. The reason I brought this up is, and this is big spender territory, I think there may be a buying opportunity on the Optic. The PSA 10 has gone up 95%. Excuse me, this chart is over the last 14 days. If we look at the last 7, I think it's actually evened out even more. But over the last 14 days, the PSA 10 is up almost 100%, whereas the Optic is only up 56%. And as we've always talked about before, Prism leads the way. So you can see here, they both went up, but the Prism kept going up and is still going up. And the Optic took the spike from the weekend where he went ballistic last weekend, and then has leveled off since. Like if I look at the last, let me pull the last seven days for you guys. So if we look at the last 7 days, actually it's a little bit closer. I'm surprised by that. But you can still see the PSA 10 is up 62% of the Prism, whereas the Optic is only up 40%. And typically, and you can actually see that I'm missing yesterday's data on Luka, so it could be even a little bit further apart. But either way, if you had a bunch of money to throw at Luka, I don't think you could go wrong getting an Optic or 2 instead of 1 Prism. The reason why I would like to go 2 Optics instead of 1 Prism is, say they play really well and they jump again. His prices go ballistic because he has a really good game. This is the way that I like to approach the hobby. This is my own personal approach. If I have 2 Optics and I buy them now and his stuff goes wild again, if I have 2, I don't feel bad selling one of those off to cover most of the costs of the initial purchase. So you spend $2,000, you pick up 2 Optic PSA 10s for essentially the same price as an Optic Prism, or a Prism PSA 10. Sorry, I'm tripping over my words. If the prices go nuts, say he has a monster first round of the playoffs and his stuff goes up 100% again, now you're kind of like, well, what do I do? I only have 1 Luka PSA 10 Prism. Is now when I want to cash out and miss out on all this, yada, yada, yada. Well, if you bought 2 Optics, now you can just sell one of the Optics, make all of, if not most of your money back, and then you're essentially free rolling, or maybe you You sell the second optic for $1,500, $1,600 when it jumps, and now you got the first optic for like $400 or $500. Essentially, that's the way that I work it out. And then you could sit and hold that one, and it doesn't hurt as bad if something goes wrong. That's been my approach with Zion, like I talked about earlier, is sell most of it so I make way more profits off of it. That essentially whatever I hold isn't costing me anything. At least that's how my mind works it out. There's obviously a cost associated to it in regards to opportunity cost, but it is what it is. That's just how I personally like to handle things. Do whatever suits you guys the best. If you're all Prism all the time and you got 2K laying around and you think the Mavs can maybe win around, if they win around, man, his prices are going to go ballistic. And I'm really curious to see what happens to Luka pricing when they get bounced from the playoffs, because odds are they're not making the Western Conference Finals. So if they lose in the first or second round, I think what happens to Luka prices are going to be extremely interesting. My best guess is they stay flat. I don't think there's going to be a massive Luka sell-off. He's one of the darlings of the hobby right now. Last one. And we've talked about these specific cards before. I feel like I show the same group all the time, but they're the ones kind of driving the entire market. There's tons of other bubble guys we could have talked about. Tyler Hero stuff's going crazy. Darius Baisley stuff going crazy. All these young guys stuff's going crazy that's getting play. But let's go with one more bigger name, and that's Tatum. And we've looked at these cards. It's been a while since we've looked at Tatum stuff. So Tatum kind of leveled off for a while. This chart's going back 14 days. His stuff's been relatively stable. It's been slowly creeping up, very slowly. About 4 weeks ago, this was about a $750 card. This is his PSA 10 Prism. It's up to almost $900 now. He had a really good game, bad game, and a couple pretty good games in the bubble. He's been playing relatively well. And I can see the Celtics most likely winning a round or two, especially if they end up facing the 76ers, because the 76ers are decimated. So what I wanted to talk about here specifically is not so much the Prism, but the other stuff has not gone up that much, if at all. It's stayed almost relatively flat. His optic is still reasonably priced at $400. But the two that I really like the best, and there's one in particular, are the Selects. Select gets forgotten about a lot. You could see here, this is a Select Concourse, and this is a Select Premier. Now, we've talked about this before as well. His Select Concourse is trending at around $380. His Select Premier is trending around $350. The Select Premier is the harder one to pull, and the pop count is much, much lower. Hell, the pop count on this is only 250. The pop count on this one is even lower. This, if you want Tatum, either one of these really is where I would go. I would specifically go with this one. Given the pop counts and stuff, and I'm not like the biggest pop count guy, but the same card essentially out of the same set, I'll take that with a little bit more seriousness. But either way, I think these are two really good buys, and I don't necessarily mind the optic for that price either. And look too, if you don't want to hold long term, look for them to win a round. Or two. They could easily make the Eastern Conference Finals, especially with the Sixers being screwed up. And then flip before they run into a Toronto or a Milwaukee. I think Toronto or Milwaukee could give them fits, but anything's possible. That Boston team's really loaded. They just seem to play weird every once in a while. So, yeah, there are still some decent cards out there that you could snag on Tatum that aren't necessarily his Prism. So that's all I got for you guys today. Enjoy, if you're watching this in the middle of the games, enjoy this last major day. This is the day that decides everything for the Western Conference, besides the bubble games. And then start turning your eyes towards guys that are on playoff teams that you think are undervalued I may see once the playoff field is set. I may dig into that to see if I could find anything. But that's what you want to be looking at right now is the playoff guys. I am going to make a video talking about guys not in the bubble or not in the playoffs, but I want to wait for the playoffs to sort themselves out and see which teams aren't there. Because money is going to flow towards the guys playing and away from the guys not playing. And that can make some buying opportunities on the guys left behind, whether the deleted 8 or the teams that get eliminated from the playoffs from the bubble. So that's all I got for you guys today. Like, sub, comment below, hit the things. I hate pimping the YouTube stuff. But other than that, we will catch you guys on the next one, and peace.